Gayatri, I'm starting.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to the UpStart live series. I'm Dhatri, your host for the webinar today. UpStart Live is a series of webinars organized by PayU, and we talked on topics related to startups and payments. Today, we're going to talk about inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is widely viewed as an effective means of brand promotion. Inbound marketing effectively is a means of enabling your brand to get found by customers. There are a couple of ways to go about doing that. And to know more about it, we have with us Gayatri Krishnamurthy, who is head of inbound marketing at Exotel. To, in, to introduce you to Gayatri a little more, I'd like to tell that her fascination for all things digital led her to land in her first job at Google after a degree in physics. And for all these years, she has dabbled around marketing, business development, account management, research, insights mining, social media management, and more. If there is anything you need to know about inbound marketing, she is the go-to person. Before we begin before we invite Gayatri in the webinar, I'd like to tell everybody that you can ask your questions in the Facebook live video in the comment section, or ask it in the GoToWebinar panel. We'll be taking the questions towards the end of the webinar. Now, I'd like to invite Gayatri to start the session. Welcome, Gayatri.
Hi, thank you so much for that introduction. Okay, we will just get started. Hi, my name is Gayatri, and like Tati mentioned, I head inbound marketing at Exotel. I've been with Exotel for 3 years, and we are primarily an inbound company. So just a little bit more about Exotel in case you guys haven't heard of us earlier. Every one of you here would have been touched by Exotel every day, if not more than once a day, knowingly or unknowingly. So if you have taken a cab today to get to where you are, or if you have ordered something online, or if you ordered your lunch, and if the delivery person or your driver or whoever's helped you gave you a call, it was probably through Exotel. So we work with some of the largest brands in the country at the moment, and we help take care of their customer communication aspects, and we're the technology behind all of these calling solutions. So we are what you would call a cloud telephony platform. What that means is we have the infrastructure available for people to use us in any way they deem fit to talk to their customers. And Uber uses us to connect drivers and riders without revealing phone numbers. Same thing happens with say somebody like a Swiggy. Your delivery person calls you right from his app without knowing the number. So that's basically what we do. We power over 3 million conversations every day, and we're probably the largest cloud telephony platform in Asia in terms of the call volumes that we handle. I don't know how many of you here are aware of this app that used to be around called Secretly. I hear it's making a comeback. So we've been shut down twice on Secretly, and that's just to say that we've had our share of ups and downs, and we're going to almost touch year 7 of being around. So I don't think we can really call ourselves a startup anymore. And this is me. If you would like to get in touch with me after the webinar as well, I'm just me on Twitter. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. How did we get here? So this is our demand generation pie chart. Looks kind of like this, right? 60% of our leads still come from organic searches, which means people come search for something, find us, sign up, try our product, and then decide to buy it or not. 20% of it comes from Google ads. So these are your paid ads that you see on Google when you do searches. Actually, and even out of the paid ads that we have on Google, 10% of it is for our own brand name, which is Exitel. And 20% of it comes from content. And by content, I mean things like downloadables, resources that we have, giveaways that we've done on the website in terms of, a bunch of things that we help startups set up, things like that. So we'll talk a little more about what this 20% content really is, but this is what our distribution looks like overall. So if you think about it, it's like selling today is like an assault on our senses, right? Everyone wants to sell you something all the time, and it's true of every single medium. If you open the newspaper, you walk on the road, even your own mobile phone, a screenshot of the SMS inbox, there's actually a real screenshot of someone in our team. And I'm fairly certain that that's what even your inbox is going to look like. I think we get more promotional, transactional messages as compared to messages from people that we actually have conversations with or have interactions with, right? Everyone is looking to sell ice to the Eskimo. So don't know whether they need it, you don't know whether they want it, but you're still trying to sell it. But this is the person that you should aim to be, right? You aim to be the ice cream truck guy that everyone sort of goes and surrounds. I don't think this guy really comes and waves an ice cream under your nose or tells you to come and buy his ice cream, but you just do because he's selling something that you want and you're looking for at that moment, so you just go buy. And this is kind of what inbound marketing also is. So how do we go from being the salesman who's selling to an Eskimo to the ice cream truck guy? That's really where inbound marketing comes in. It refers to activities that brings interested buyers to you rather than having to go out and get prospects' attention. This is the if you were to talk about it in classical marketing terms, this is pull versus push, right? So if you were to simply put it, inbound marketing is just the art of being found. It's the art of being found at the right place, at the right time, giving the right message. Everything else will follow if you're just being found at the right place, at the right time, giving the right message. So here are a few disclaimers you should know about inbound marketing before you kind of dive in. Lots of people I know look at inbound marketing as a way of quick marketing or getting something set up, and the quick thing kind of doesn't work here. That's not going to happen also. Inbound marketing is extremely time consuming. It takes a lot of effort. It is not easy. It is a slow build up. You will see results over time, but you're in control, and it's very pocket friendly and effective when it's done right. So I guess when it's done right is the biggest caveat here. But these are a few things that you should probably keep in mind before you get started. This is not for somebody trying to get a quick turnaround on something. This is definitely not for somebody trying to hustle up. This is for people who are willing to persevere and look at long-term results. So I'm sure if you guys are here, you definitely know the classic inbound marketing funnel structure, right? So you have a bunch of people out there who are potentially who could potentially be your clients. So the idea is to attract these guys, convert them into your into your prospects in some way. For us, it is getting them to come on the site and creating a trial account, and then you close them. Close is finally making a sale, get them to experience your product, what you have to say, make sure that there is a match, and then getting them to close. So let's go through this in the order that it happens, right? So attract. One of the biggest things about attracting people to come on your site is the starting point is possibly to work on your SEO. And I'm sure this is something that everyone has tried at some point. Everyone wants to work SEO, right? We'll come to this. So everyone wants to work SEO. This is something I've seen people talk about very often. This is something also people come and ask us very often, right? Like, how do I get my SEO right? But there is also another shortcut that a lot of people kind of take. They say, why can't I just spend on Google AdWords and just get it done? Why do I need to figure out how SEO works? The algorithm keeps changing. I don't know how to game the system. The system here is the search algorithm. So let me just like spend money appear in the search results, hope somebody clicks on my ad and just get it over with, right? You can, but there is no guarantee that you'll be the only guy bidding for a keyword, right? So for example, like I told you right at the beginning, almost 10% of our paid traffic comes from our own brand name, right? Even in that case, we are not the only people bidding for our brand name. We have competitors bidding, right? So in that case, you're actually going to end up paying a lot more to get somebody in, someone who already knows about you. You can't compete with a guy who has bigger pockets or a smaller brain. And this person used to work with us, and he used to say that AdWords is the most effective way for people to give money to Google, which is true. It does give you returns, but is it sustainable in the long term for you to only work with AdWords? Possibly not, especially not if you're a startup. Getting into a bidding war for a keyword is a stupid thing to do. Don't be stupid. We have, and we've learned that it's not worth being stupid. So what do you do to not be stupid, right? So AdWords is good to have. You should experiment with AdWords, see how it can help you get in leads, but also work on your SEO. What that really means is, so I've had people come up to me a lot of times, in a couple of earlier sessions that I've done and said, I don't know how to work around SEO. I don't know how the latest algorithm works, or I don't know how to get my page on top, right? So the one thing that has really worked for us, and I think this is possibly uncommon because it sounds so simple, is just use common sense, right? It doesn't matter what the latest algorithm is. It doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. Algorithms are smart. Algorithms are smart, and they want to be. The idea is to train algorithms to think in a way a person with common sense will think, right? So a person with a reasonable amount of intelligence, reasonable amount of common sense is not going to fall for a page that just has keywords stuffed everywhere. He's not going to read something that is substandard, or they're not going to read something that claims to tell one thing but does something else, right? So the idea is simple. Write content, write great content, and write for specific keywords that you think people are searching for. Because the idea, after all, at the end of the day, is to be found where people are looking for you. And don't forget the long tail keywords, right? So the one thing that really helped us here is this, right? So this is what we talked about when we said we were stupid, right? Like I told you right at the beginning, we're a cloud telephony platform. So it is only logical that we optimize for the word cloud telephony, right? But about 3 years ago, people did not know what cloud telephony was. Nobody was searching for that term. Cloud telephony was just a term that we were using to describe ourselves, but it was not the term that our customers were using to describe us, because they didn't even know what cloud telephony was at that point. And I'm talking about like SMEs, small companies, maybe even like a fair number of startups, right? Because cloud telephony as a concept itself was so new. People were searching for benefits that cloud telephony gave them. like how do I set up an IVR, missed call campaigns or call center setup, things like that, right? In fact, I remember even today, one of our best performing pieces of content is a very simple article we wrote on and helping people with open source IVR prompts that they could use for their campaigns, and that is still like one of the pieces of content that does really well for us. It may not be, it may not that it may not, it definitely is not the most eloquent piece of content we've written, but it is amongst the most useful content that we've written, right? So there is no it is no surprise that that still continues to be one of our best performing content. So yeah, we did stupid. We did optimize for a term that nobody was looking for. So if you and when I say optimize for your customers, one thing that really helped us do it is we listen to a lot of customer calls, right? A lot of customer conversations. So we're a SaaS company. We actually never meet any of our customers. Like I said, we're an inbound company as well. So people come, sign up for a trial account, talk to our sales agents, test out the product, and then pay up, right? So all of our interactions with our customers basically happens on the phone, and it could be different for you. It could be in person, but in some fashion or the other, I'm sure you're having conversations either verbally or via email in some form or fashion, right? Like take close attention to what your customers are saying to describe your offerings. Most often, that's where your primary keywords are coming from, and that's where like the keywords here came for us from, right? Setting up easy IVR, missed call campaigns. So pay very close attention to what your customers are saying about your product, because you might be thinking about it in completely different terms, but it's important to pay attention to what they are saying. Content is the queen. And always needs to be quality over quantity. Don't churn out meaningless stuff. A lot of this clickbait kind of things of you may not believe what happened next. It's okay. It'll probably get you like a few thousand clicks, but it's really not going to get you any business unless you're planning to run the next scoop whoop. Just really does not make sense. And great content is tough. It requires thought, attention. It requires constant ideation, and it also is a lot of work. If it was easy, you won't see so many cat and dog gifs on the internet. You'll see a lot more of the great content. Know your audience really well, right? And when I say great content, it does not really need to sell your product in them. Give them value. So one example was what I just told you some time ago, right? About our post which talks about IVR, clear, usable IVR prompts, right? It's easy. It was something of value. It did not directly pitch Exitel at all. In fact, it's not something that directly talks about the product that we were selling, but it's still of value. It was helping people, and it made people come and sign up. Another thing that we did was, so for example, most of our customers are primarily startups, and a lot of our content also revolves around building a startup. So recently we had written on a lean approach to building a startup, basically what are now being called as corporate startups, right? It has directly nothing to do with Exitel, but it has been one of the most shared pieces of content that we have written in the recent times, and because it talks about something that a lot of startups are trying to do, survive in a time where funding seems to be the only way to survive. So it's something of value to other startups. Write about stuff like that. And this is also something, if you think about it, you would experienced it yourself as a customer, right? It happened to us. So for example, we recently subscribed to Basecamp, and we actually spent very little time evaluating their product, and we have been spending a lot of time reading their content. Jason tried this, it's really good, and a lot of their stuff is about being productive and building a good work-life balance. And so we had we were kind of sold on the product even before we actually tried it. And this is just by adding value to our own lives in terms of helping us figure out our own workflows and things like that, right? And this is something we also did. We wrote an ebook for hunting for startups. Even today, it is one of our biggest lead generators, because this is again another thing a lot of startups are trying to figure out. So that sort of completes the attract part of the funnel, right? So now you have people on your site. What are you going to do with them? There are a few things that you can do to ensure that people don't leave right after coming in. And like I said, these are very small things, but things future. Make sure your website loads fast. Nobody is going to wait for 15 seconds for your site to load. It doesn't matter if it's the most gorgeous looking page, but nobody is going to wait. Make your messaging clear, simple. Nobody again wants to try. It's not the visitor's job to figure out what your offering is. It's your job to tell them clearly. Clarity of information trumps looks. If you are an early stage startup, don't spend time thinking about what your design should look like. When should you hire a designer? Don't think about things like that. Pay more attention to the information that you want up there. How do you want to sell yourself? What is your one-line pitch? Make sure you have clear calls to action, right? So, for example, this is actually a page from our website. It has changed now, but this used to be one of our pages. It clearly talks about Exitel for startups. The call to actions here are very simple, very clear, right? Don't overdo this. The only people who get away with doing something like this is probably IRCTC. You'll still go back because absolutely no choice in that matter. But for everyone else, there's always a choice. No one makes spammy looking things. It does not have to be the prettiest looking page, but it definitely cannot be. It has to serve the purpose. It cannot piss people off. Make sure you're measuring, you're experimenting, and you continue to measure, right? There has to be your greatest friend. You have to base all of your decisions on data. It cannot be gut. You have to figure out if there is a pattern. You have to see where people are coming in from. You have to check whether your CTAs are working. Can you experiment with your TAs? Is your messaging working? Is your bounce rate high? So there's basically so content actually today is more and probably a little less language. It does not matter if you have the most amazing content out there if you don't know how to make sense of the data that the content is giving you. And that is something we take very, very seriously at Exit as well. You don't have to use expensive paid tools, though we do use a couple of tools that we pay for. You can start the simple Google Analytics. Make sure you are tracking sources of your traffic. What is the traffic flow on your website? What are the pages people are visiting? What seems to be like the last point before they make a decision? How much time are they spending? Is the time spent on your sites increasing? Are you having more traffic on a particular day of the week? Is content that's getting pushed on at a particular time working better than some content which is good get pushed at another time of the day? So there are endless number of things that you can and should be trying. So now you have people, attracted people onto your site. You must figure out get them to sign up for your product. But how do you figure out who's going to close, right? So all leads are equal, but some are more equal than others. Yeah, it's just bad pun, but um, so make sure you engage with people who come on your site, who sign up for your product, right? So think about drip emails, think about in product notifications. Make sure that you're able to customize engagements. There is nothing more annoying. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry. There is nothing more annoying than getting a message that says "Dear customer." It annoys, and I'm sure it annoys you too, especially uh, for products where they have a lot of information about you. It is possible to collect more information, and and when I still get a "Dear customer" email, I think that's where I switch off. And I'm sure that's the same case in most of you guys as well, right? It is very important to also segment your leads based on their interaction with your website or with your product. So we do that at Exitel as well. So for every person who comes up and who comes and signs up for a trial account, we have a scoring system. And this lead scoring system is simply to tell us where we should be focusing our efforts on, because even we are a very lean team, both our sales and marketing teams are very lean. So when you have a limited amount of time at your disposal, what are you going to do? You obviously still need to make sure that you pay attention and give more time to customers who have a better chance of actually buying your product, rather than someone who's just probably doing this to check you out or to see what you may offer or not, right? So this scoring system also is a huge help in figuring out where you should be dedicating your time and your effort, right? The content and the context wins, and don't spam. And for us, when we think of a drip email sequence, it becomes really important because it's a limited amount of time that we get with all of our leads, prospective customers, before they leave us, right? Because we have a trial period, and it is up to us to get them to understand the significance of our offerings in this time period. Otherwise, we don't get another chance to do this all over again, which is again why we don't want to piss them off with spam, send them messages that are out of context or things that are not useful for them. Great, this sounds right, but who are the right people to do this, right? So just to give you a little bit of context, I joined Exitel as the first hire of the marketing team. And in the last 3 years, we still have a very lean team. And this is mostly our hiring philosophy as well. Hire generalists, hire people who are not afraid of looking at data and taking decisions. Hire people who thrive under constraints. So Sanjeev, our head of marketing, says creativity comes from constraints. And he says what most people say, but it is true. And we've seen that work wonderfully for us time and again, because especially when you're working in a startup, in maybe the early stages, you will have limited resources that you can work with, but it is up to you how you make them work. So you definitely need somebody who thrives under constraint, right? Everything else you can learn on the job. These are qualities you should look for. So you're actually looking for a person who fits these qualities rather than looking for qualifications or skills in general. So this is pretty much what I had to share with you guys about what we have done. If you have any questions, you can also get in touch with me over email later. You can reach me at gayatri@exitel.in. Or I guess now we have time for questions.
Thank you, Gayatri. So, everybody who has questions, you can, for those attending on GoToWebinar, you can ask them in the questions panel. And for everybody on Facebook, you can put them in the comment section on the Facebook live video. So we have a question from Danish. He asks, does conversion optimization come under inbound marketing? Hello.
Sorry. Hey, can you explain what you mean by conversion optimization?
He's talking about on-site conversion optimization.
Yeah, so it does fall under inbound marketing as well. So that's the convert part of the funnel that I was talking about. So when you talk about how actually to get people on who are on your website to show interest in what you have to offer, and it can be in any form or fashion. For us, it is them signing up for a trial account. Because that sort of is when the buyer's journey starts in our case. So you need to figure out what that thing is. It could be maybe signing up for a newsletter. It could be signing up for a trial of your product, or it could simply be like filling out a form to give you their information so that you can get in touch with them. So it can be in any form or fashion. Um, but yeah, it does fall under inbound.
Okay, another question from Sudhanshu is, Google and Facebook take the lion's share. Do other channels give return on investment?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Google and Facebook?
Take the lion's share. Do other channels give the return the ROI?
Yeah, see, okay, bunch of things, right? One is you can either use, so there needs to be one primary social media platform that you figure works best for you, right? So over the years, we have dabbled with a bunch of with all of the platforms that came out. We even tried out Google Plus when it first came out. But for us, in terms of our tone of voice, our style of content, our way of functioning, we see that Twitter gives us like the best ROI. It gives us the best engagement. That is where we can have conversations with our potential clients, right? So for us, Twitter is a good platform for us to pay attention to and engage with customers on. But I strongly believe that need not be the case for you. I think, for example, for B2C companies, Facebook possibly works better by the sheer nature of the content that you create, and the kind of engagement that you want to build. And I know Snapchat has been working beautifully for a bunch of other companies as well, right? So I don't think it really has to do with an overall which platform works best. I think there is one platform that will work for your product the best, and that can come from your experiments. You need to dabble. You need to figure out which is that platform that works best for you. For us, Twitter works the best.
Okay, another question is from Sohail. He asks, how much budget generally should we allocate for marketing in the launch phase?
Okay, the budget question is always tricky. So it depends on what you want to do, right? Even today, so we are like way past the launch stage. Like I told you, we're 7 of running, right? But even now, we actually work on an almost shoestring budget with respect to marketing, right? So it depends on basically your availability of funds. We're a bootstrap company, we're not a very large funded company. So we have limitations in terms of the kind of budgets that we work with. And I'm sure that's the case with you as well, right? So in the launch phase, you should make sure that you spend an adequate amount of money to make sure that your marketing collateral is possibly understandable, right? Which means, like I said, you don't need to get a great designer, but you still need a website design that loads fast enough, content that is easily understandable. So you should possibly look at allocating budget based on your needs, which would possibly be to get like a decent website up and running, possibly get a CRM in place, invest in tools, invest in the right kind of workflow. Not so much people right at the beginning, and maybe not even so much advertising right at the beginning.
Okay. Another question is, inbound is indeed a lifeline for B2B companies. For example, an e-commerce site that's into eyewear, a small niche limited content opportunity. What kind of content should I focus on?
It depends on the kind of people you're trying to reach out to, right? Inbound can be of multiple ways. So, for example, if you have an e-commerce company where if your product is really niche, I'm sure you know who you're targeting as well. It is that you possibly have like a finite set of people that you're looking to reach out to, right? In that case, you should cater to what the niche wants to read, and you should also possibly look at more email marketing sort of activities, because you know who these people are, and you have a finite set of people you're trying to reach out to. That is possibly one kind of content that works, but I don't know how else to tell you what other kind of content to kind of focus on without actually understanding that sector and that segment. I actually don't know very much about that sector or segment, but if I were to make like a very generalized sweeping statement, this is what I would say.
Okay. Another question is, what's the difference between traditional marketing and inbound marketing?
Like I said earlier, right? It's more to do with push versus pull marketing. Traditional marketing is more push. It's just more like spray and pray kind of approach, which is what is primarily different with inbound. So I guess inbound has always existed for a while, but it has just gotten a lot more popular maybe in the last 6 to 10 years, simply because of the internet, the way people are turning to the internet for knowledge, for general research, things like that. But to me, the biggest difference is just that it is inbound is a lot more focused. You know exactly what you want out of it, and it's more pull marketing as opposed to push.
Another question is, how long will it take for us to see the results from inbound marketing efforts?
So you will need to first of all define what results mean for your business, and B, I don't know. I don't think it's possible to predict a period of time that you will have to do this for before you see results. So I'll tell you what happened in our case is we had it focused results for almost Actually, I don't even know how to answer that question, simply because I don't think it works that way at all. I'm sure, like I was telling you about one of the most popular posts for us even today, right? Is on the IVR prompts, usable IVR prompts, right? That post was probably written sometime in 2013, 2012. But it's been working well even today. It probably did not start working well just immediately after we wrote it, but today it's working really well for us. Um, so I don't think there's a particular finite period of time, but if you still need like a timeline that you want to persist with this for before you look elsewhere, I would say at least 6 months. 6 months of focused, dedicated, honest effort.
Okay, another question is from the perspective of a B2B company. Do you believe in moving slow and steady or go fast, go big in marketing?
I think that has to do with what the larger company goals are, because marketing goals can never be independently set. It has to be a top-down approach. It has to be so. What is the larger vision of your company? Is the larger vision of your company to go big? Then you go big. If the larger vision of your company is to grow steadily but slowly, then you grow steadily but slowly. Because I don't think marketing vision can be set independently that way. It has to flow in with the vision you have for your product, you have for your company. Where do you see yourselves growing? What are the targets you set for yourself? So it comes from a much larger picture. And you use marketing to drive the much larger picture. It cannot be the other way around.
Another question is for a knowledge network, which like for a knowledge network like Quizential is a website that's been mentioned. So, which itself is a content sharing platform. What do you suggest are the right first steps for inbound marketing?
Hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with this platform. If you want to talk like specifically, I'm happy if you want to drop me a mail, but it, this depends very heavily on the actual product, the competition that you have, who you're trying to reach out to. And I actually don't know any of this because I'm not familiar with this industry or the particular site that you mentioned. So if you can drop me a mail with any specific questions you may have, I'll be happy to answer them.
I think I can generalize that question with how does inbound marketing work for a content sharing platform?
So if you look at it, Quora is probably a kind of a content sharing platform, right? And it's a consumer to consumer play. It's not so much a B2B play. So I'm sure Quora also sees like slow uptakes. You probably have to do a little bit of seeding of content in the beginning. Simply to see what is the kind of interest you're able to see in other people. And that's not a like a niche, like consumer to consumer sharing is not a niche I'm very familiar with. But if I were to say just off the top of my head, it possibly has to also do with you seeding like the initial bit of content, and also possibly to do with a little bit of reaching out to who you think are influencers in your in whatever you're trying to do, right? So if I were to do something like that, I'd probably make a list of like 100 people I want to see on my platform and possibly reach out to them. So that's possibly a game that you can do to get your first 100 or 200 influencers, because you should know these are the kind of people I want on my platform, to make sure that I have some kind of a viral effect. Possibly some kind of a direct reach or will help get the ball rolling right at the beginning. And that may not be completely an inbound approach, but that's possibly the best way for you to go ahead with it.
So we'll take one last question, which is what call to action best works for a flash sales landing page?
You will have to A/B. In fact, Google's latest A/B testing tool has uh, become free for everyone to use. It comes bundled with analytics. I don't think there is one magic word that works better than the other. Unless you experiment, there is no way you will have to A/B test. You will have to make a list of all the things that you think are your possible contenders and A/B test. That's the only way for you to find out.
Okay, we have another question, so we'll make this one last question. Can you suggest some tools to get our content to largest audience?
Uh, it depends on whether you're looking at content distribution in India, or what the market is that you're looking at. Distribution tools in our experience don't work very well in India. What works much better is these distribution tools actually work much better in the Western market. But in terms of distribution, in terms of getting your content to be read by a wider audience, what seems to be working really well these days is Medium. Medium is definitely a platform that you should explore. Because I think the ease of reading on Medium and the ease of sharing on Medium is really high, which makes it a very conducive platform to content as well. That's one. If you were to look at one platform, you should possibly look at Medium.
Okay, we're getting a couple of more questions. So since they are interesting questions, we'll take them. So we'll take just a couple of more questions. So what's the role? The question is, what's the role of push notification and in-app notification in lead engagement?
I personally don't know anybody who has ever subscribed to a push notification on the website. So I don't know. I honestly haven't been able to measure the effectiveness of push notifications on websites. Even with in-app notifications, I've noticed that people have started becoming very, very selective in giving notification permissions on their phone. It leads to very quick uninstalls if what you are telling them is not, if it's not, relevant for them. What works for us is in-product notifications, because we have a web product and an app. Our app is being rebuilt at the moment. But in terms of engagement, what works really well for us is in-app notifications on the web. And Intercom is one of the tools that we use to do this, and this actually gives us the best engagement rates and the best open rates. But we make sure to not abuse that too much, because it's not something we want people to unsubscribe from. But it is something that's worked really well. In product notification on the web works much better than push notifications in general on the site, or even on the app.
Okay, so we'll conclude here. Thank you, Gayatri, for joining us and sharing your insights with us. The questions and the overall discussion seems to be very relevant and very knowledgeable for people who are trying to learn more about inbound marketing. For everybody who is attending the webinar today, on behalf of PayU, I would like to thank each one of you for participating in the webinar and contributing through your questions as well. You can like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter with Upstart in Code Up. Upstart Code Up is our handle, and you can stay updated about more such online and offline events. For any feedbacks and queries, you can reach out to us on letstalk@payu.com, and we shall be happy to help you. Just putting a word out again, you can follow Gayatri on Twitter with her Twitter handle is @justme. Keep the conversation going on. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Gayatri, again. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.